We're going to take a look at the editing behind the Aviation Museum. When editing, every shot of a film should have a purpose behind it. We're going to take a look at 4 techniques: repeating the action, editing to movement, beats and gaps, and the subversion of expectations. Repeating the action. For example, in Mission Impossible, they show the action of him turning around a whopping 5 times. But this is an extreme example. When you repeat the action in editing, it does 2 things. It helps the audience get a better understanding of what's happening, and it adds more intensity to a movement to make it feel much more impactful. The effect can also be used a lot more subtly. Here's a great tutorial on editing from an old YouTuber I watched back in the day.
It's over, Rico! Drop it!
The spin isn't strictly continuity based, because if you were to cut it with continuity, he's gonna be about halfway here, and then he should be about here for the spin. But look what happens here if we did cut exactly to where he is in 3D space. It actually feels a little bit too fast. Part of this is because when you cut, your eye has to take a second to sort of reacquire the image and adjust to what it's looking at. And if you cut like this right away, you don't really quite pick up with it until a little bit too late. So it actually doesn't even feel like he's spinning around. It feels like it kind of warps over, and by dragging it back a few frames and having to restart the action, sells that spin move a little better by backing up in time a little bit.
So how do we apply this technique in the Aviation Museum? Well, when the plane drops, the action is shown 3 times. So if you were to edit it correctly to continuity, instead it'd look like this. An important element to editing is movement. When you cut to movement, it helps smooth an edit to keep the audience from knowing you made a cut. Some of my favorite examples on editing to movement is Watchtower over Turkey and Captains of Spaceship Earth. Just downloading those videos and going frame by frame to look at how they're edited is a great way to learn cutting to movement. In the Aviation Museum, the easiest example is in the deer shot. As the deer's ear moves, we cut to the close-up of its ear moving to transition the shot easier. Here's what it would look like without and with. Beats and gaps. For the wheel shot, I wanted a beat of silence before the loudest part of the plane's impact. If you include a beat of silence among loud action, it helps to break it up and give the viewer a second to breathe.
I don't have anything against film being loud for a moment or two, but I do have a big problem with a film that is loud continuously for 20 or 30 minutes. Nothing really seems loud because everything is loud.
Without that beat of silence, it looks like this. Subverting expectations. There was a big change made to the climax. When the girl looks past the camera, we originally had a shot of the sunset from Angeles National Forest. The problem was I was having a hard time getting the lighting and motion of the model plane to integrate into the shot. And that's when I showed it to a friend, and he said, "What if you just took it out?" What, the plane? No, the whole shot. And then I thought about it, and he was totally right. If you take out the shot, it does 2 things. You add suspense because you don't reveal what she sees. If we just showed Angeles National Forest, it's actually kind of a lame reveal because a sunset is already what you're expecting. The second is that it subverts your expectation to a reverse shot of her looking at the plane on display instead. This makes for a much more succinct way of telling the story by bringing her back into the museum. So this concludes the aviation breakdowns. I hope you enjoyed them. Consider subscribing below. Thanks for watching.